All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL props video. We're going to be touching on the top prop bets for this Monday night showdown between the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills, both touching on the props for PrizePicks and Underdog. But first, let's get into a recap of yesterday. So yesterday, if you had just went with the best bets that we had available on the board, which was the slip that I had showed you guys, 4 for 5. Joshua Dobbs lit it up, unfortunately, for this one to just miss out on hitting. That was the good slip. And then the rest of them, well, I'll show you guys the one that was not good. And then the rest of them were pretty much 50%. So this was the bad one. Went in on the tackles and assist props, guys. They were not as fruitful as they were on the previous slates that I had added this in there. Kind of unfortunate there. Hunter Henry was a big disappointment as well. Heck, if you take him out of a lot of slips, it was a much better day. And then, yeah, those other slips just went basically 50%. The underdog slip went 3 for 5. You know, honestly, I'll take 60% really any day of the week, and I know you guys would as well. Just want to call out this one as well. Frustrating. I know this was the NBA prop. This is an NFL video, but so close to a 6 for 6 slip for you guys yesterday, NBA wise. What the annoying part of this one was, like, literally up until 3 minutes or 2 minutes left in the game, underdog was actually projecting him to get the over. So at like literally no point in the game was he projected to get the under until like the very end of the game, which was very tilting. And yeah, yesterday I kind of almost just wish I would have really went in on the under props for the quarterbacks on Underdog and just went with Tyler Conklin, which was really the only prop that I felt really good about for the over for 2.5 receptions. And that one crushed, obviously. Hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that, though. Looking at this game, we got the Broncos versus the Bills. The Bills are 7-point favorites, but this is projected to be a higher scoring game. Both defenses have kind of struggled thus far this season. The Bills because they're banged up. Denver has actually looked better recently defensively. So we'll see how they are doing now this week coming in after the bye. And that's my biggest question mark on this slate for this team is really what we should be expecting for the Broncos coming in off of a bye. Are we going to see someone like Marvin Mims Jr. get more work? Potentially. Are we going to see someone like Jaleel McLaughlin get more work as well? I kind of expect yes. And I'll touch on that here in a second. But first, let's take a peek at the Bills injuries. Now, Khalil Shakir has made me look awesome. You know, it's kind of a bold call to primetime games ago, him like having a bigger role. That paid off. Doubled down on it on the last one. And I still think that's going to be true, guys. Just Dawson Knox being out. We're just seeing Shakir shifting into more of the Kincaid role. Kincaid is falling into more of a typical tight end role, which has benefited both of them. So we'll see if we are getting any good props there. But I do just want to call out the Broncos snap share. So I am very curious about this. Like Judy's been getting about 60% of the snaps. We have seen Sutton basically 85% of the snaps. I am wondering if this is finally going to be the game in which we see Marvin Mims get to closer to 50% of the snaps. Just coming in off of a bye. You know, he's a rookie. Sean Payton kind of makes his rookies earn his trust a little bit. And I don't think we're going to see little Jordan Humphrey get as much work. So it is interesting there. And I also want to see P. Ryan not get as much work in favor of Jaleel McLaughlin getting more work. Now, he has seen his snap share go down, which to me is a little bit strange. They like P. Ryan as the third down back is pretty much what that's telling us. And don't get me wrong, Javonte Williams has looked good. He's been able to handle the workload, and he's kind of looked healthy in the last game as well. I do expect Williams to be the RB1, but I would like to see them use McLaughlin a little bit more just because when he has gotten the football, he has looked good. And then just taking a peek at the Bills snap shares. Yes, Gabe Davis, Diggs, we know they're playing a lot. Kincaid is basically playing 80 to 90% of the snaps. That's awesome. And we are seeing Shakir continue to see more and more snaps. The biggest question mark I would say that we have on the slate is what is the workload going to be like for the running back? And really, this could just depend on Leonard Fournette being active or not. Now, I don't know if that's really going to cut into James Cook's snaps too much. Like, I still think he's going to be 50 to 66% of the snaps. Like, I think that's going to be his role. But Fournette would definitely be the short yardage back. And so I'm kind of interested how that works out. But all in all, I think right now we're going to assume Cook and Murray are going to be the only two active. With Ty Johnson also active, we'll see. So we'll jump into the props for today. We're going to start out with the Buffalo Bills on this slate. So looking at right now, guys, I'm kind of mad I did my NBA props video first because Underdog had this line set at 22 for the longest time. I'm like, we have another perfect kind of middling opportunity where we can bet the over on Underdog and bet the under on PrizePicks. And if you did that last night, it actually worked out with Zach Wilson. Typically speaking, that's not going to work out, but kind of bittersweet there. What I don't like, though, is that we're seeing Josh Allen probably should be a good bet for the under. And why I say I don't like that is, one, a lot of people like this matchup against the Broncos, as they should. That being said, guys, if we look at over the last 4 weeks for the Broncos, they've actually been kind of more difficult in terms of production given up to opposing quarterbacks, 11th most restrictive. And then for what it's worth, they had been like the worst in terms of rushing as well. They've been improved in that department as well. And it's not like that's a bad sample size because they're playing the Chiefs as well. So it does seem like they have gotten a little bit better. And so I actually don't hate the idea of betting the under here for Josh Allen, where the data is kind of telling us to bet the under. Now, do I like it at a almost 56% likely to hit? Probably not. I would probably say it's closer to like 53. And really with Josh Allen, I bet it's going to come down to whether or not he has a bunch of turnovers in this game or not. And or if he gets a rushing touchdown. Like obviously if he gets that, and like this is like 10 points rushing the football right there. If he gets that, then it's going to be tough to imagine him not having at least one passing touchdown. So 14 there, and then about 8 or so points throwing the football. And even still, that might be a little bit too high. Now, he has done well against the Bengals, the Bucks, as you would expect him to, and really against every defense. So I am probably just not touching that one. I do not feel comfortable betting the under or over for that one. Okay. Then from there, we got Diggs for over 18 for fantasy score. We can see the PrizePicks line would be at 19 if we adjusted for their scoring with PrizePicks scoring. And we can see that's probably about right. The average sportsbook line would be favoring the over slightly at 18.8 on average. So not a terrible one. And that's where I would almost bet on Josh Allen getting the over fantasy score with Diggs getting the over fantasy score as well. And so we take a peek at Diggs here. We can see, been a pretty good fantasy producer. We look at the game against Cincinnati, was able to get the over there. We look at the game against the Bucks, didn't, 16 there. And then New England, 17.8. Now the Bengals was a lower scoring game there. Against Tampa, the yards just weren't there as much as they had been in previous game. Again, against New England, kind of just a weird game that they had. You would think that he would be able to have kind of a massive output in this game. At the same time, I really hate that these aren't correlating. That's the struggle to me. We are seeing Josh Allen for over 31.5 rushing yards is seemingly a good one compared to the average sportsbook line at 33.5. If you guys want to roll with that, you could. Pass attempts as well, seemingly a decent one, as well as pass completions. So we have some decent ones there. James Cook for under 13 for a fantasy score, I would say is extremely interesting. And again, guys, where the Broncos have been a little bit better against the rush, I might like the under here for James Cook because he has struggled in terms of getting the over, and he's not being used in the passing game as much as you would like him to be used in the passing game. We have not seen that occur. And when he is being used in the passing game, it's kind of off scripted plays where Josh Allen's scrolling or rolling out of the pocket and Cook breaks up field and Allen hits him for a good pass and catch for what it's worth, but he's not being as involved in the passing game as we would like. Now, this is going to be by far his best rush matchup in a while, but it is a little bit touchdown dependent. Like if you take away this receiving touchdown against the Patriots, he barely gets the over there. And he is just not producing like he had done in the first couple of games. So I would say that we probably would be favoring the under, but if he scores a touchdown, that would mean that Josh Allen's fantasy score is going to be less likely to hit. So to me, it does somewhat feel like you're choosing one or the other. Like I would almost say Cook, if he gets his over fantasy score, it's going to be because Josh Allen scores a rushing, or it's going to be because Josh Allen doesn't score a rushing touchdown because James Cook does. Now, granted, Latavius Murray could fall into the end zone as well. Leonard Fournette could be back as well. Let's continue on here. James Cook over 2.5 receptions. Again, I don't want to use that one. We're just not seeing him used in the passing game that much. We can see Diggs at 7 receptions is being valued as a push. I do want to touch on these two. I would still say these two are going to be a little bit too low for both Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. The unfortunate side of that for those two is the fact that these are probably better bets on the sportsbooks rather than they are for PrizePicks or Underdog. But let's take a peek at those. So again, if you've been following the channel, you are not shocked at the workload that Shakir has had over the past couple of weeks. That was kind of expected. Now, obviously not 6 receptions, but all in all, I do think we can expect him to get 4 receptions. Again, the issue that I have with that is 4 targets. That's my concern, but the snaps have went up. And so I do think we can bank on those targets being there. And I personally think he's better than Gabe Davis. Now, Gabe Davis can open up the field a little bit better, but I think Shakir is a safer target. And this should be an easier matchup for them as compared to the Bengals. So if he is getting a little bit more snaps in this game, hopefully that leads to a little bit more passing attempts and completions, and those completions go to Khalil Shakir. I do want to call it Dalton Kincaid as well. Kincaid seemingly gets the easiest matchup on the slate, and he has been getting targeted heavily. 11, 7, 8. I don't see that changing. I think that his role is kind of cemented. Okay, obviously not 11 targets, but honestly 7 or so, I don't think that's going to change. And all in all, he could be someone that catches 5 targets for 5 receptions. So I think we have good chances at these being a push, and maybe we get lucky and maybe we get the over on them. I like that route the best. For what it's worth, I'm wondering if we're going to get a Khalil Shakir prop for fantasy points because that might be the best one that we get. You could potentially roll with his just receiving yards at 36.5. Like if he does get 4 receptions, which would be the over for his receptions, he's most likely going to get over 36.5 receiving yards. Again, with him, we've seen him basically be over that in the 2 games in which he's played over 50% of the snaps. Would have got there against New England, I think, as well, had his snap share not been 36. Okay. So yeah, I think we can do the over there. But all in all, kind of thin here. I do want to call out that we're probably looking at the under for a fantasy score for Dalton Kincaid on Underdog. And yes, we are. Okay, so that's going to be a better bet there because they are slightly valuing it more than PrizePicks when we adjust it for the correct scoring for the correct platform. And the reason I don't mind this is because it's a little bit touchdown dependent. Like I do think he's going to get 5 receptions again, but on Underdog, that's only 2.5 point, so there's a slight adjustment there. So it's really, do you think he's going to score a touchdown? If you think no, obviously touchdowns are a little bit fluky, then you can bet the under. It is a matchup with the Broncos, so maybe you want to stay away. I would get that. So now we go on and get into Denver, guys. We have a lot of interesting props for Denver in general. Samaje Perine for over his receiving yards is seemingly a decent one, where the average sportsbook line basically has it set at 14 and as they push to be 14. I think the biggest thing we need to concentrate on for this is really the game script. The Bills are projected to be ahead by at least a touchdown in this game. And so if that does occur and we continue to see Perine operate as that third down running back, then he should be able to get over his receptions there. It is very much game script dependent. So if you are trying to bet on, let's say, Diggs over fantasy score or Josh Allen or Josh Allen with Diggs, this would be a bet that I would say would correlate well with that. You can kind of game script that way. I'm fine with that. I think it's a good thought process. Again, we take a peek at Samaje Perine snap share, basically playing about 20 or so % of the snaps, which has gone down a little bit with Javonte Williams looking better and Jaleel McLaughlin playing well as well. But also, they've kind of been in the last few games. Like KC, they won. Green Bay, they won. KC, they were down in. Didn't get that much work. Kind of a low-scoring game, right? This is supposed to be a high-scoring game against the Jets. Got there, and we can see he's consistently actually gotten the over here. So it is seemingly probably too low of a line. We also see Javonte Williams at 13.5 rushing attempts. The issue that I have with that is that these two shouldn't correlate, right? Like we're chasing the Perine prop, hoping that he gets a little bit more work, given the fact that the game could potentially be a blowout. If it's not, Perine should be able to get 13.5 rushing attempts. Now the projection data loves him to get 17. Let's take a peek at why. So we have seen Javonte Williams playing a lot more snaps. That is true. Okay, 27 rushing attempts, 15, 10. And they might just try to run him into the ground. And I don't mind that idea. He has looked good doing that. Obviously, the whole yards per carry is not a true indication of how well or poorly a running back played, especially in a game in which they're trying to grind the clock down, right? He looked good. Safe to say he looked good. And he has looked good. I would say the concern is like, dang, they're really getting Javonte Williams that many touches? 30 in a game? After, some serious injuries? That's almost seems like a mistake to me, but all in all, that's what they did. So 13.5 rushing attempts, I don't mind that. And it's just, can they keep the game close enough for long enough? Potentially. Like, it is only a 7-point spread. That could easily be something that takes place in the fourth quarter. The game could be close enough for long enough for a while. One of the most interesting props that we have on the slate, I would say, is Russell Wilson's fantasy score. Underdog has it set at 16. PrizePicks has it set at 15.5. And the reason I say it's fascinating is because, well, with Javonte Williams getting that much work, to me, it's going to be tough for Russell Wilson to get there. Now, it is worth pointing out that the Bills have been a much easier pass defense as of recent. And so it is a seemingly low line for Wilson, who has been rushing the football a bunch. 8 carries, 30 yards. 1 carry, 21 yards, 4 carries, 31 yards, 7 carries, 49. And so we have seen an emphasis on him rushing the football a little bit more. If that continues, he should be able to get his over. If that doesn't continue, obviously it's not likely that he'll get his over. What I find crazy is the lack of passing yards the last 3 weeks, right? They want to run the football. They want it to be a game like last night's game where we see Josh Jacobs and Breece Hall just rushing the football bunch. They want to kill the clock, and they might be successful doing that. But if that happens, it's tough to imagine Russell Wilson getting 3 touchdowns again. This should be an easier matchup for him, and he's played well. The issue that I have with these 3 props is that the Javonte Williams one does not seemingly correlate to me with the Russell Wilson one or the Samaje Perine one. To me, it seems like we're either choosing Perine and Wilson, or we're going with Javonte Williams. I'm fine with either. I think they are both pretty strong correlation. What I find strange as well is that we have Javonte Williams here at a 52 or so % likelihood for him to get under 12 for a fantasy score, even though he's getting 13.5 carries. Obviously a little bit touchdown dependent, just interesting there. You would expect him to be able to get some good rushing yards. I would say we have a good bet there on underdog at 54.5. Like that's a seemingly good one there. Cortland's son, 3.5 receptions. That is such a low number. Like he should be getting more. It just hasn't happened just yet. We are probably going to see that we want to bet the under for Jerry Jeudy on underdog. And it almost seems like another slate in which we might be favoring underdog a little bit more just because that can be the slight difference between having a really good day or just missing out on having a good day. So let's take a peek at that. So for Denver, again, we are seeing P. Ryan as a good one for his prop. And then yes, Jerry Jeudy under fantasy score there. That is seemingly going to be the prop that we want to roll with. Javonte Williams over rushing attempts. I guess I'm fine with that. Just correlation. We're fine there. And so let's actually just take a peek at both sites then. So here you could do P. Ryan over receiving yards, Jeudy under fantasy score, Kincaid under fantasy score, and heck, I might just do Josh Allen. I think I'm fine with those four for an underdog slip. Kind of ugly, but it should correlate a little bit there. We are getting 1 tackles and assist prop for what it's worth. That's being valued as a push. I don't think I want to touch that. So this slate's ugly. I already gave you guys what I'm going to do for underdog there. If you want to run that out, you can. Let's do the prize pick slip. And while I was doing this video, they did bump this to 13.5. Not as good, obviously. I still don't mind it. I think we can still bet the over game script wise for P. Ryan. And before I want to get into the bet of the day, I did just refresh, and we are getting Teron Johnson for under tackles and assists, and Jordan Poyer for under 7 tackles and assists as well. Okay ones. Oh, Tyler Bass, kicking points, 6.5. Interesting. What is that? 47 for the game over and under. I mean, I don't mind it. The Broncos defense has been better, so, you could roll with that. So yeah, tight slate, obviously. And again, guys, typically I would try to make this a 4 or 6 slip bet. It feels like we'd be forcing in that, and I just don't want to do that. I see these as the 4 best ones that we have available on the slate today. All in all, probably a little bit too thin. I do like the bet slip that I showed you guys on underdog a little bit better. Maybe don't want to go with Josh Allen for under his fantasy score. That's fine. The other 3 are fine. Obviously, the payout on underdog for 3 slip bet is much better than the payout for prize picks. And that's why I'm going with the 4 slip bet here. But yes, I think the issue I have is I think Kincaid and Shakir have a great chance for those to be pushes. The issue with Pete Ryan is that is a little bit game script dependent. And also I do worry that Jaleel McLaughlin could get more work tonight as well. All in all, it's risky, but he has crushed that thus far this season. And then Teron Johnson, that is seemingly one of the best, if not the best EV bet that we have available for this game. That's going to be all for this video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell as well. That's going to be all for the slate. If you guys want access to the cheat sheets that you saw available in this video, it is available at 9to5sports.com for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.